Here we are again, Main Street Randyland. Did you subscribe yet? I don't know. We're waiting for you to push that subscribe button. You, push the subscribe button. Come on. All right, well, I assume you must have done it by now. We're counting on you. But we're over here again at Randyland on Main Street, Pacific Avenue in Wildwood, and they're showing some of the fun stuff that I've preserved over the years. Now, everybody who's gone to the boardwalks in New Jersey knows what the wheels are, the stands with the wheel. You don't know? That's where you go to win prizes betting on the outcome of a spinning wheel. Now, it's not your typical gambling place where you're, trying to spin the wheel and get the thing to land and get the money. Believe it or not, it started that way. Like when you would go to a carnival and the guy would have the big wheel and he'd spin the wheel and the wheel would spin around and the flopper on the top, this and the other, blah, blah, blah. Well, they even have them in casinos today, more ornate and elaborate and bigger. But it's the same premise. You're betting on what's going to come out on the wheel, and the actuator on the top of the wheel would stop onto the different pins, and if you won, you would get whatever the odds are for the percentage of the thing. But in the state of New Jersey, in the late 1950s, they stopped all gambling on amusement games. You weren't allowed to give cash anymore. Originally, they paid cash on games of chance on the boardwalk. They paid cash right there. Some of them gave prizes, some of them gave cigarettes, but cash was allowed, and it was gambling. It wasn't legal. It was gambling. Kids were over there playing. So they stopped it in the late 1950s, and only games of skill were permitted. Now, what's the difference? Well, if you're playing the stand and you're putting your coins down and the operator spins the wheel, that's not a game of skill. That's a game that you're betting upon the chance of it stopping on the thing. You have no operator control as a customer. The operator's got his hands on it, he's controlling it. So you might have noticed, if you've played, games on the boardwalk in New Jersey have a button that you press to start the wheel and a button to stop the wheel. Typically, there's a line of buttons all the way down the stand that any one of those buttons can start the wheel, any one of those buttons can stop the wheel. That's the premise of giving you the skill, because you're starting it, you're stopping it. And when you stop it, you're simply disconnecting the power from the motor, so it's going to glide down theoretically at chance, but if you stop it at the right way, you're going to stop it where you want to. It can be done. I've seen it done. I can do it under certain circumstances. When I was a player, I used to win big prizes by skilling the wheel with the buttons. But if you have a bunch of people playing and they're all pushing the button, you don't have any more skill than the man in the moon, because no longer are you controlling the button. But in theory, the operator is not controlling the outcome of the spinning wheel. Therefore, it's legal. Okay, they're not giving cash. They're giving prizes. It's supposed to be for fun. When prizes were small and inexpensive, it was fun. Today, they want to give some big expensive prize. Now it's more gambling. I'm more of a purist. I don't think that should be. Be that as it may, that's the way it is. But we're talking about the wheels themselves. Up here, you'll see some wheels that I've collected, and I have several. This is your standard type wheel with multiple numbers, and you'll see the way the wheel has additional names towards the bottom of the number. Optically, you look at that wheel and you think that there's just so many numbers that you see in black, symbols or numbers in black. But all those red names that you see going all around in a little triangle insert are also options that wheel can spin on. And they are equally the same distance apart on the peg that they represent. So even though the number is written larger or the name is written larger in black, it has no better chance of winning than one of those little names that are written in red, because it's identifying the particular peg that is where the indicator of the arrow is going to stop. It is deceptive. It is painted that way for a reason, to look like it's less difficult to win. Now, over the years, they've had different styles of that. Look over at this far one on the right, and you will see the similar design with the black letters and the red names on the outside. That's pretty clear for me to see, because I know how to play wheels, and anybody who knows how to play wheels can see that those are there. They're not that small. Being less numbers on the wheel, it's easier to see that than it is the first one we showed. But if you look at the red one in the middle, you'll see that it also has a similar design, but if you look at the names that are right near the pegs, they're written in a very light, almost gray silver. You can barely see those names. You can see the black outline that's going towards the pegs, but the name itself, I have to actually strain my eyes to see. I see Bill, B-I-L, I see Dot, D-O-T, Jan, J-A-N. I see a little spade, a 9, but they're purposely painted in such a way that when you first look at it, you see 3, 1, diamond, 4, 2, the big letters, you see Hal, Pop, Son. You figure, well, there's not that many chances on that. I have a good chance of winning. But you don't see the smaller in-between numbers that are equally able to win. But in later years, they actually painted the background of the wheel in alternating colors of white and light blue or white and light silver, so that it just looks like a design on the wheel, but it actually indicates that one of those names might be in 2 different background colors. So if you bet on Mom, maybe there's Mom that's white and there's Mom that's light silver. There's a different peg for each one, but you see Mom, but now they're going by the background color too. So all of this is a deception. To my way of thinking, it's deceitful practices, but that's what they do because they want you to play. They want you to figure, well, this is going to be an easy win. And some people win right away, just like the lottery. Some people get leprosy right away. Some people get struck by lightning right away. But the odds are not that you're going to win right away because they're not there to have winners. The bigger the prize you see them offering for winning any game, whether it's a wheel or a game of skill, the bigger the more valuable the prize, the less likelihood is that you're going to win it because they cannot give you a big prize for the small price that you're spending. Or even if you play a few times, the prize is going to cost them a lot more money. I personally never liked the wheel business because there's always somebody unhappy every time the wheel spins. Well, what do you mean? Well, if you don't win and I sweep away your money, you're not very happy, are you? We might not bother you the first time. Bet again, play again. I keep sweeping away your money, you didn't win. You're going to walk away, you didn't win the prize, you're not happy. On the other end of the stick, if you put down a couple coins and the wheel spins and it stops on your winning number and you get the prize, as the operator, I'm not happy because now I got to give you a prize that costs way more money than you spent on your bet. So maybe it balances out in the end, but a lot of times you're not really busy. You take in a few bucks and then somebody comes over and they hit you once or twice on the wheel. So you ended up standing there spending your day and you lost a couple $100 on top of it all. They might say that's the name of the game. That's gambling. You win some, you lose some. But I want everybody to be happy when they play the games. So I want people to play games because they're fun, not because they're there trying to win the prize. Because if you want to win the prize and that's the only reason you're playing the game, you're playing the game for the wrong reason. It's all about fun. We sell fun. That's what we are. We're the amusement business. We're entertainers. We sell fun. If you're playing my games because I'm trying to make you think you're going to win some big prize for far less money than you can buy it in the store, I'm deceiving you. I'm luring you in. I don't want to do that. I never try to do that. I can offer a big prize for somebody too, but I don't want to make that the reason you're playing the game because it's not fun. Then you get into these game operators that pull dirty tricks. And there are some out there still even today, but more so back in the day, which is why they created the Legalized Games of Chance Commission and the ABC control that used to monitor games. And they would come and inspect games to see that they're fair and see that they're legitimate. And they do have inspectors that go around to check these things. Unfortunately, they don't check very often. Unfortunately, when something is found deceitfully wrong on purpose, they don't do a lot about it. And they close their eyes to a lot a lot that goes on, which if I was in control, Believe me, certain things would never be allowed because I'm honest and I'm not getting paid to do something that I want to protect my job, so keep the dishonest people out there, so there's another reason for me to go back. But be that as it may, during Wheels over the years, particularly when I worked in Keansburg, and you spoke to the old timers who were there from the 20s and the 30s when they did all kinds of crazy stuff with gambling, they had all kinds of ways of cheating on wheels. Some of them had a brake pedal. Some of them had a clutch pedal to make it go a little faster. I mean, there's all these things. Then there's the balance issues. Is the wheel balanced? Is it favoring one side? Is it not favoring another side? Is the side it's not favoring the side that, has all the numbers you would normally play right in front of you? These are little edges that they put on. Are the pins bent? Sometimes the pins are bent out a little bit, just a little bit further out. So guess what? There's less chance of the wheel's actuator stopping on that pin because it's either lightly going to touch it and breeze by, or in some instances, it's not even going to touch it at all. It'll just swing on by. This is what goes on. Wheels are actually precision made. They weren't always, and not all of them are. But there was one company that was really known for making the premier Cadillac of wheels, and it was called Park Sales, and they came out of Point Pleasant, New Jersey, because most wheels were found in Seaside, in Keansburg, in Point Pleasant, so they made a business in that area, and those wheels were expensive. People think, oh, it's a piece of wood and some nails. Technically, it is. Technically, years ago, some people actually just took a piece of wood, painted it, put nails in it, and an axle in the middle and spun it around. But was the axle exactly on center? Is there off balance? Are the pins equal in texture so that they bounce? Many, many aspects to it. So a wheel from Park Sales could cost many thousands of dollars, depending upon the intricacy, how many pins, how many nails, how many spacings. So it was a big expenditure to buy a wheel that was really a fair wheel. A lot of operators didn't have that money, and they used the cheapo wheel because that's the best they can do. And even though they're not dishonest, the wheel is not a precision balance instrument like some of them can be. So just the paint job on the wheel is very important. The way it looks, as we described, can be deceiving, but the intricacies of the paint make it so it's inviting. They want you to come over. It's got to be artistically drawn. It's not like it's done with a child's hand where they're writing on a paper, with a stencil. Each letter, each symbol looks like it's professionally done, but not to the point that it's like a machine. So it's an art, it's a science, very, very particular. And when a guy who's running a wheel has a wheel, it's usually custom designed for the item that he's giving. If you're giving an item that's worth $50 and you want to make 50% profit, then you have to have a wheel that's going to take in $100 on average before there's a winner. Let's say now the item goes up to $60. Now, for you to keep your percentage of winning, your wheel has to take in $120 before every winner. That means there has to be more numbers on the wheel before there's a winner. Well, that wheel is made with just so many pins going around it. The paint job is painted with just so many numbers and so many options. So that means the operator has to get a different wheel. Sometimes they can be repegged. That's also expensive. It's better to save the old wheel because there might be another time that percentage works for the item you're going to do. Wheels change items often. They want to have an item that's popular, but you have to have a wheel that's going to fit your item and your percentage, at least closely. If you're not going to get 50%, you're going to get 45%. Maybe that's okay with you. Maybe you're going to get 55%. Maybe you're going to get 10%. Whatever it is you're going to get, you have to calculate your percentages on the wheel without doing any cheats or any kind of little games on the things. So there's wheels and there's wheels. There's Cadillacs and there are Fords. But Park Sales was the best company for making wheels. Over here, I happen to have an arrow. Now this arrow is made by Park Sales. This is a Cadillac. This arrow itself, made of hard wood, is very, very balanced. Forget about the hub in the middle. Just the arrow itself is balanced. And they balance it on the back with lead inserts on either end. And the holes that are made there are to take away some of the lead in order to balance the weight. So they felt on this arrow that they needed to drill one hole here to make this back a little bit lighter, and 3 holes had to be drilled here for whatever reason during its life that the front part was a little too heavy and it was coming out more in the bottom. So behind the arrow that you don't see, the balances are here. Why are there thumbtacks? Just because they wanted to put something there? The thumbtacks are there for the same reason, for weight, for balance. And an operator can very easily, while he's playing the game with you right there, he can go over with a thumbtack in his hand and he can go like this and stick one in the back of his wheel or the front of his wheel. He can force one in there, which is going to change a little bit of the balance of that wheel. The hub itself on a lot of wheels is just a straight shaft going right through, and a belt on the back would drive the pulley in order to turn the arrow. But there's a draw on that, and there's a draw on the motor itself with the axles. So this is a Cadillac. Unlike the other ones, which would be the Chevys and the Ford that have a straight axle going through, this has a clutch. So I can turn this arrow without turning the hub. More likely, the hub can turn without turning the arrow because there's a clutch. I cannot turn it this way without turning it, but I can turn it this way. So the motor will turn this way, forcing the arrow, but then the arrow will free swing without the motor turning anymore. And you'll notice how balanced that is. No sound, perfect motion. This is a beautifully designed instrument by Park Sales. People think a wheel, I can pick one up for 50 bucks, 100 bucks. This hub alone would be at least $1,000 minimum. Today's market, it'd probably be $2,000 or $3,000 because that's a precision instrument. Look at that. That's precision. That's not even oiled. This hasn't been used in a lot of years. That's precision. Some of them use what they call the bicycle wheel. It's actually a bicycle wheel with the gears that you hear the ball bearings go click, 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 click. Same principle that when you stop pedaling, it still goes. And bicycles are pretty well balanced. That's a poor man's way of doing it. Does it work? Yeah, you can make it work without spending the thousands of dollars. But when you've got the right equipment, that's the way to play. You got the good wheel. This is an operator who probably was very, very legitimate. He was not looking to screw anybody. That's why they took the trouble to balance that arrow. This tape probably had a penny or some kind of piece of metal underneath it. That's another method because they needed a little more weight. So they taped something a little bit heavier on that wheel. They were trying to balance that wheel so it could be fair, both for the operator and for the player. The wiper itself come in different configurations. This one is a solid rubber with the reinforcing like a tire. They also come in fiberglass reinforcements for a little bit of a stiffer type of actuator. And it's tightened with a simple wing nut screw. And they can break off. This can very easily break off. If I were to drop this and break this off, how much money would I have been dropping and losing and breaking? Because it can break off. And if it's not adjusted right and you're letting it hit the pins too much, you're going to break the pins off the wheel. And they're not nails. They are rods, usually made of brass, that are tapped in perfectly perpendicular so that they don't have a wrong edge. Listen to the wheel as the wheel spins. You hear a certain sound. You can tell when there's a pin off. You can tell when there's something wrong because you can hear it. The average person can't hear it. I can hear it like it's standing out on the thumb because I've been doing this for a long time. My sister was in the wheel business for a long time. She had a lot of wheels and she was a totally legitimate operator and knows all about wheels. Me, I'm a layman. I'm a good mechanic, so I know the situation with wheels, but I never liked running the wheels basically because of what I said. I want everybody to be happy. So I play games where there's a lot of skill involved. not necessarily a wheel. But I thought you'd be interested in seeing and learning about wheels on the boardwalk and the really good ones compared to the other ones. Always just be careful. Just be careful what you play and where you play it. Because if the prize is really, really big and what they're offering, chances are they're not there to make you win it. So take that and keep it in mind. We'll talk about something interesting on the next time at the Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Did you subscribe? Did you? Did you push the button? Well, if you don't want to see stuff like this, then don't bother. But if you want to see all the good stuff, you better push that button. Subscribe, Main Street Randyland, right here on location at Randyland on Main Street, Pacific Avenue. We're going to say see you next time for the next fun-filled episode. Bye, guys.